Hey, it's Barb with Inspire Me 360, and this is going to be kind of a shorter, quick video. But one of the best ways to purify your aura or purify your energy body and raise your vibration consistently and in a really measurable way that, again, you will see in terms of your external world is to forgive anybody that has ever frustrated you, hurt you, put you through pain, and one by one eradicate any of that bitterness out of your auric field. Because whether you like it or not, or understand it or not, holding any measure of frustration or embitterment in your energy field does cause you to see through a more distorted lens and causes your vibrational output to be exponentially lower. So again, I've had, some interesting experiences with many humans who, from a very three-dimensional perspective, I would, deem as very hurtful and almost unforgivable, and a lot of them. But what I've done, and I've in a very calculated way, is seen each and every one of those individuals as in sort of a consciousness, an infant-like state. So understanding that the only way that an individual could act that way, or a soul could act that way, a consciousness, is if they were very much not aware. It was, they know not what they do. You would never, in the awareness and the communion with the divine, once you are aware of the output of love and unconditional love, you can't imagine treating another person in that way. So the only way that individuals can come from a distorted lens or act in an extremely damaged way is likely because they've probably been damaged by other individuals previously. And if they, and if that's not the case, and they just sort of popped out of the womb and were extremely kind of entitled and selfish and, hurtful, then again, it's likely a very new incarnation cycle for them. They're likely a very young soul who hasn't learned many lessons, who hasn't seen the mirroring of what it means to live a three-dimensional life. And as we live these lifetimes over and over and over, and as we go through these, mirrored pain cycles, we come to a higher and higher understanding of the principle of, how our energy affects others. And so you'll find with old souls that they are very aware of frequencies. Maybe they don't speak it through those terms. Maybe they talk about it as feelings, the feelings of others and having compassion for others. But in terms of the purification process and really putting yourself in the best possible and most purest energetic state, removing all bitterness, because again, bitterness and wounding, it gets projected as distortion. And as we project that distortion, we hurt others. Not that we're meaning to hurt others. A lot of times it's because we've been hurt or we're unaware. But nevertheless, in terms of one's ascension, it is essential to dispel anything that is living within you that is hateful, painful, wounded, a projection-based energy that you're going to be pushing out into the quantum field. So what is the other thing that you can do that really helps in terms of your ascension process and the practicalities of raising your vibration? So I'm going to kind of go through that sort of step 2. blessed to essentially have an outpicturing of the best possible outcome for even people that you would think of as not your friends. Let's call them your enemies. Love your enemies. And how do you do that? You do it by wishing them well. And I don't mean wishing them well like wishing they're going to win the lottery. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean by being in a deep, formidable prayer type thought form energy where you outpicture those individuals in a healed state. So whatever the distortion that they are presenting, because that distortion is part of the collective grid and it is keeping the collective energy grid here on planet Earth at a lower level. And when we can utilize the power of our mind to wish good things for them, even if the request or the prayer from a real place, it can't be, maybe at first you practice it in a very superficial way, because in the beginning, as you go through this practice, it's a little bit hard to say, take that girlfriend that totally ran your neighbor through the mud or stole your business concept or whatever it is, and sit there and wish wellness and abundance and love for that other individual. But here's the caveat to that. The minute that you wish these things, even for somebody that has deeply hurt you, deeply betrayed you, all of these different things, you actually, in pushing out that high vibrational thought form energy, you actually cause the same thing to come back to you, because we are all interconnected in the collective consciousness grid. Wishing beautiful things and beautiful out manifestations, even with the individuals that frustrate you the most, that is actually, I don't want to say it's more helpful, it's equally helpful, but it is equally essential as praying for the ones that you love. It's easy to wish for good things for the people that have your heart and who are part of your soul family. So I had to kind of crop this video together, once I got to work here. So again, with this lesson of wanting good things for other people, it's easy to want good things for your family and the people you love and the people that make you feel amazing. It's the extension of that loving energy and, whatever it is that you're creating, with your wishes and prayers and hopes for them. Obviously, that's helpful energy, that's positive energy. And that's helping to raise your vibration, and it's helping to raise the vibration of the entire planet. But one of the most difficult lessons that you will have to learn while you're here on planet Earth is to take massive amounts of distortion and wish the highest vibrational outcome for that low vibrational energy. And it's great, or it's a little bit easier to handle these lessons if we think of things in terms of energy, because when we're looking from a three-dimensional perspective and we see things like war and murder and greed and different kinds of Ponzi schemes and things that are done to animals, animal testing, there's a myriad of things that are very low vibrational that exist within the human system, and when we look at those things kind of square on, they can feel very overwhelming. They can feel like, oh, I couldn't forgive that. That's unforgivable. And there's certainly an energy of, deep pain and suffering, and anything that's distorted, it's going to feel distorted. It's going to feel awful. I don't want to discount those awful feelings. And I also don't want to layer this message with a kind of nonchalantness about some of those deep, painful things. I've gone through an extreme amount of trauma in my lifetime. I've seen a lot of darkness, more darkness than, a lot of people see in a lifetime. But my point with this is that the only way that I was able to free myself and to have mental health after coming out of some of those very devastating experiences was to forgive them and, in a way, forget them. That doesn't mean condoning it. It doesn't mean saying that that's right. It doesn't mean that when I see something that is distorted, that I don't try to protect and, do whatever I possibly can to eradicate that distortion. But what it does mean is that I don't allow any anger to live in me so that I become like the distortion. I fill myself with as much love and light as possible. And I try to never come from a place of attack, because what I've understood with my own aura and my own experience is when I start to get into, because I have done it in my past, into a modality of attack and hatred and very low vibrational energy, emanating from who and what I am, I become anybody has the capacity to become a very dark thing from that. You are taking in what you hate, but you're essentially becoming that very thing that hurts you, just by embodying that attack energy. So it is, again, one of the most difficult lessons that you have to learn on planet Earth if you want to move into this ascended high vibrational state. But it is to wish transformation on others. And when we can wish transformation on others, meaning that they will see the light, that they will come to the light, that they will, recognize their distortions. However, the divine is, mirroring that back to them, because it's not our job. Again, if people are coming from a lack mentality or a distorted mentality, it's not up to us to judge them or condemn them or persecute them, even though other individuals might be coming from a very wounded place, a very broken place, a very distorted place. And when a soul or a mind or that's acting through a body is seeing through the perception of extreme distortion, they're going to outact extreme distortion. And the thing is, this is a vicious cycle. Where does it end? Which war is right? Who's the most right in fighting a war? Because a war came before the war, and some attack came before that attack. And it's very difficult when you start to unravel any amount of pain and suffering from its beginning, because of the cyclical nature of the birth and death cycles. Because in many cases, people that are broken come from brokenness, that came from brokenness. It's like we don't really have an adequate yardstick in which we can really truly judge any other. So the only thing that we can do is to project love. That doesn't mean you go up and, hug a murderer. I'm not trying to suggest that. It's not to be done, it's such a difficult lesson to teach. It's such a difficult lesson to learn. You have to get to a point of neutrality. I think that's the best way that I can put it, and have this neutrality with anybody that has hurt you expand into this unconditional, loving energy that blankets everyone. It just has to be this pervasive, all-encompassing, blanketing prayerful energy that is emanating from you, so that you can lessen the distortion in the collective, and so that you can lessen the distortion in the self. And, you know, in terms of the distortion, you still fight in a way, and fight is, again, a really difficult word form to utilize, because I don't mean fight, but I mean you take up action that is still righteous, forward-moving action that helps in whatever is the best semblance of those actions to decrease distortion. And in every single circumstance, it's going to be a little bit different. There's no, you know, rule book that can look at every scenario. But again, if every action that you're taking towards correction can be the highest output of kindness, compassion, love that you can assemble within your own words and actions and behavior, then again, that's that pilgrimage that we all have to go on in the ascension process. And, you know, really having a deep energy, out emanating energy from your soul, from your consciousness, that is wishing good things for all beings, even those that are highly distorted, that they, and the wish can be, the propellant wish can be that, and that prayer that you send out can simply be for the divine to, however that creation energy flows into those hearts and minds that are in extreme density, that comes to them, that is magnetized towards them, and that they see the error of their ways, and they try to, again, that this spark of desire for a higher vibration or an ascended state of consciousness take root within them. I mean, that can be the prayer. And, you know, if not in this lifetime, in some lifetime, that they get to this understanding that, you know, the ultimate path for any soul is the path of unconditional love, the illumination, the light, the pathway of the light. So I'm going to wrap this video up. Again, it's Friday here in Canada, so really happy, had a beautiful week. Hope all of you around the world, again, had a very amazing week. And just that all of us continue to utilize our energy for the good of the collective. There's a lot of really heavy things going on in the world right now, and we don't need more vigilantes that are, you know, creating more violence. We need love. We need individuals to see a better version or better vision for the way that humans interact with each other, for the way that all of the cultures, all of the tribes, I mean, in this modern era, we can have so much technological advancement and we can't even figure out how to not kill each other. There's a certain point where it's a little bit ridiculous. And, you know, we have to, as a collective human family, say, like, enough is enough. You know, when are we going to just realize that peacefulness is the way to a blissful world? So yeah, happy Friday, and I will see you in the next video. Good morning, it's Barb with Inspire Me 360, and having a beautiful and blessed morning this morning. I just watched a really insightful Jim Carrey video where he talks about the essence of letting go and his studies of Eckhart Tolle and the subsequent awakenings that he's had several times in his career. And I really love this video. I found that his explanation of the expansive nature of the soul and how we can exist within this ego mindset, and yet at these very distinct periods in our lives, we can go through this sort of dissolution of the ego where we understand, in that experience that truly everything is connected and we are everything, that the totality of all existence is really, truly what that I am essence is, that we are this drop within an ocean. And again, this is, a beautiful experience, and one that even Jim Carrey talks about, essentially chasing that feeling of interconnectedness and, what a high it is. And I can definitely relate to that because, again, every time I've went through, one of these awakening experiences, I had the very same very visceral experience of really losing touch with the persona that I created, the element of, this is Barbara and she, expresses this way. And, I lost very much that egoic mind. And I felt in those periods, this absolutely pervasive, unconditional love, just an unconditional love beyond words. But I also knew that I was part of that love, and that love was sending me energy and generating energy from what I was, and that it wasn't that I was specifically special to this energy. That was a really big realization for me, that energy was everything and loved everything equally. And in those weeks and months where I experienced that, I also saw a complete breakdown of the normal labels or the normal judgments that we would normally have towards others. You just would see any other in this beautiful, incredible light. I remember having conversations with, homeless people, and just them being the most dynamic conversations, and just seeing their light and seeing their wisdom, and again, removing all of that judgment that the 3D kind of logical mind or society tends to kind of layer onto our experience. Those, expectations that we don't do this or we don't go there, we don't talk to those individuals, really robs us of this rich, deep, immersive experience that is life. And again, it's something that until you've experienced it, you won't really understand what I'm talking about in terms of an awakening. But if you have experienced it, it is incredibly profound, and you'll find that it really changes the trajectory of your journey, and it really changes the motivation of how you see each and every task and how you view the world. It gives you a sort of purposefulness, but it's like a gentle purposefulness because there's no ego in it. You don't need anything from the doing. You're just simply doing as, part of a wave in an ocean, or that drop in an ocean philosophy. Labeling that I kind of layered upon myself was that, again, a new version of what I am would be an outcropping of that, and it would be a complete new version. It's almost unrecognizable in terms of what I would call, the old me. And I really enjoy this experience of shedding a skin and coming into this new chapter and really experiencing life in almost a rebirth, because you don't frame things at all in the same way as you did previous to an awakening experience. It's like you download so much information, and it always comes by the way of unconditional love and that illumination experience, or that illuminated energy. And the cool thing is, though, you still remember the old, outdated versions of yourself. So you always have a kind of a frame of reference of, okay, I remember when I thought this way, or I remember when I framed the world this way. Wow, that was a very dense, perceptive plateau that I was on. My perception was very dense, and I can still kind of transport myself back to those now moments where, again, I was very much in a different mindset, and I saw the world through different eyes. And because we can return to those sort of set points, that is really what breeds compassion and understanding, is that we see the outdated versions of reality. And we know that we walked through that understanding. We came from a perceptual lens, or our piece of our consciousness did view the world in that way and operated in that way. And now we are so much no longer in that mindset, but many individuals, still reside in that denser, lower vibrational thinking. And so we can understand them because, again, we likely lived that very experience for many years until we had this sort of awakening download where we were illuminated and we did see things from this higher perspective. And we can call this the higher self. So there are always multiple layers of this higher self perspective. And, it's an eternal journey. It is a never-ending journey. So what I've learned with the multiple experiences of awakenings that I've had in this lifetime is that just when I think I've figured it out and I have the key and, all of the answers are right there in front of me, I realize, okay, you know what? There's another door is opening, and it's a whole new way of viewing life and creation and the entire experience, that it's such a beautiful remembrance or expansion that you just kind of start to get excited about what's coming next, because each and every time the expansion seems to be more beautiful, more all-encompassing, more complete. It's more of a return home to this oneness and to this light body that you start to emanate from. It's really difficult to put into words if you haven't experienced it, but I would likely expect that if you're watching this channel at all, it is something that you've had a little bit of experience with, because that's what really causes you to be interested in these spiritual topics, is that, again, you've probably had some sort of personal experience with spirituality and are now questioning everything about your existence, because it's a very profound experience. It will rock your world. It will change everything that you think and feel and how you operate, and usually for a good, in a good way, for a very purposeful next chapter. And remember that, again, there are ebbs and flows to this. So there are times when you will feel these really high highs, and then you'll also have these very kind of low lows, because you will miss at times that expansive nature of the awakening. And it's kind of like chasing a certain type of high. But then when we realize that this is part of the lesson and part of the teaching, is that we have to understand that through our own reaching, through our own suffering and questioning, and sometimes almost a depressed state or a lonely state, we ask deeper questions. We force ourselves to break out of our shell, and this is how that new version is born. It's like putting a seed into the dirt. The dirt, is sort of dense and compactful and, really kind of that container for that seed to grow. And it is the same thing with our souls, is that we go into the depths of that darkness and the descent and the questioning and, all of that sort of depression and anxiety. And that is the pressure that causes us to essentially germinate and sprout and start to rise up. And each and every time we go through one of these cycles, and I know a lot of spiritual teachers will teach that the ascension process is like this spiral. So, it's not a perfect ascent. It kind of comes in a cyclical way, and that's exactly how I've experienced it. It's very cyclical. It is that wave pattern where, you go up, you rise, and then you come down a little bit, and then you rise a little bit more, and then you come down, and, in that kind of spiraling upward momentum. And that can give you a lot of peace on your journey in knowing that, when you are in those valleys, that is part of the process, and you start to relax into it. You start to let go of the attachment to, the pervasive emotion, whatever that deep emotion is. You start to kind of ride the waves of your emotions rather than being tethered by them or weighed down by them. You just simply move into the observer perspective, and you utilize each emotion, each mood, each next experiential, out manifestation as part of your lessons, as part of your learning. And you start to hold an immense amount of gratitude for all of it, for the totality of it. Because again, you wouldn't learn without the contrast. This beautiful contrast is what provides us the framework for our deep and profound soul journey. This is how we learn. This is specifically how we learn on Earth. So it is a beautiful adventure. It is a very exciting ride. It has so much complexity to it. And as we soften ourselves into the journey, we realize actually that it's filled with so much of a dynamic kaleidoscope of experiences that you just start to love the entire process. The highs, the lows, the journey, the cinematic out expression of all of it. And that becomes, your daily mantra is just to observe, to grow through all of it. I'm going to cut this video a little bit short. I don't want it to be a super long one, but again, if you can take anything from this, it's the understanding that you are everything and everything is you. And there is a total peace and comfort in that when you start to really ingrain this lesson into each and every day. It just provides you unlimited peace, unlimited compassion for everything and all that is. All right, guys, have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video. Guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the best time to actually practice your ascension techniques or raising your vibration is essentially when you are super frustrated, or if you, again, have this negative energy around you. That is 100% the best time to practice these principles. I mean, it's very easy to be very zenned out when you're feeling great and to think about spirituality and to, think about your vibration being high. But the practicality of earth and energies and learning about things is that the way that we learn is by going through the trials and tribulations and still being able to handle the energy. Okay, this is the whole journey of earth. We are learning about energy. We're learning about how to manipulate and change energy, and how specifically to control our own energy and understand how that energy affects all others. That is one of the most fundamental lessons we are here to learn. So again, I really want you to pay attention to when things are super tense, when you have a lot of stress, when everything is going wrong. This is the purpose, or this is the time to practice everything that you are working on when things are going right, or when you have your downtime and you're thinking of these manifestation principles, or thinking positively, or not projecting negativity. Because when you're faced with a lot of negativity externally, this is when you really have to dig deep and reframe things and really drop into that energy of surrender, that energy of trust, and that energy of this universal knowingness that everything is always working out for you. And again, the worst days that you have are the best days to practice this stuff. And what I found is that the worst days, if you compare them to previous times when you were really in the thick of it, they actually aren't that hard. And as you get really good at this, you actually start to enjoy a little bit of the challenge, and you just see yourself continually, I guess, holding this really high magnetic vibration. So again, feel really blessed with the opportunity when obstacles arise for you to really demonstrate everything that you have learned in terms of raising your own vibration, or continually holding this super amazing optimistic outlook. Because again, it's a lot of it is just optimism. It's, you know, even when everything on the outside, my grandma used to say, and God, I'm going to bring her up and everything, but my grandma used to say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And that's exactly what we are here learning to do. We are taking whatever is thrown at us energetically, and we are making a new energetic soup out of it that is going to be super positive, knowing that good things are coming for us. And if we can consistently hold that very, very high vibrational output, amazing, wonderful things are going to happen for you. So this is a really short video, but I just wanted to put it out there because, again, this is something that I'm specifically working on. No matter how difficult or how frustrated I get, how intense the circumstances, because trust me, I've gone through some pretty intense circumstances lately, but I'm just acclimating my entire attention to this is going to be positive. I don't really understand how all of the pieces are moving right now, because again, I'm not the only one moving them. I'm certainly not the only one moving them, but I know that they are realigning to create the most beautiful future for me. And when you believe that, when you reside in that energy, that's absolutely what starts to happen. And you also start to see that your mind starts really paying attention to all of the good things, all of the little tiny miracles that we can separate, that happen, or that we can separate, that we can identify with each and every day. It's all good stuff that is coming into our lives. Everything is for us. If we're seeing some sort of negativity or what we can term as karma in our life, again, that's there to teach us. So it's still a positive. It might be a tough lesson, but that lesson is still worth learning, and it's something that we directed our souls to come here to learn. So just keep practicing massive amounts of positivity, and remember, don't feel sorry for yourself. This is one of the craziest, most important rules to manifestation. Never, never, never feel sorry about yourself in the situation, or for yourself in the situation that you're in, because when we do this, we're really residing in that lower vibrational energy field. And so you've got to, get away from having those, dull, dark days, and just really realizing that anything that you come up against, you can handle. And as you handle these things, you become stronger, you become more resilient, you build a ton of pride in yourself, and it allows you to open up doors that you've never dreamed of, because now you have all of these resilient skills that are so needed at the higher levels of existence. As we move up the scale in terms of our vibrational output, we will be tasked with more and more incredible opportunities and things that we're able to do. But we are not able to have these doors open for us until we complete the lessons that we're meant to learn. So love every lesson, feel the gratitude for every moment of your life, keep things really, really optimistic, and remember to also have that optimistic compassion for everybody that is around you. Because if you start projecting any kind of negativity onto others' journeys, that just is mirrored back to you. Okay, that's whatever that judgment is, it will show up in another form, and you're going to have to deal with that. So don't have anything that you are projecting in any way, thought form, action, word form, text, it doesn't matter what it is. Keep it all really super high vibrational, and you will see magical things happen in your life. I'm going to sign off, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video. Guys, it's Barb with Inspire Me 360, and in this video I want to talk about when you make a request to the universe, how things kind of transpire and how the universe actually works with individuals that we would deem karmic partners or soulmates. And again, this video is a little bit geared towards finding your person or finding that kind of dream situation that you've always wanted to manifest. So I want to explain a little bit more how the universe works through people to create that desired effect. So let's say you have an individual or yourself. You basically make a request to God, to the field, whatever you want to call it, whatever you identify with, to the universe. And you have a list of things that you are essentially looking to manifest, to experience in this lifetime. And okay, you've set your intention, you've written it in your journal, maybe you've done, some spiritual journeying, some soul searching, and this is what you want to create. Well, it's not like whatever it is you desire just instantaneously comes into material manifestation. The way that it works is that energy is instantaneous. The minute that you set that desired intention, it is a type of energy that is accepted and taken on by the field. Now, you do have to consistently put out the same signal to receive what it is you're trying to manifest. Because again, there's sort of a time delay between what you are imagining and what is being created for you on an energetic plane before we really see it materialize in terms of matter or experiential matter. So what will often happen is if you have set this, really deep intention, and you kind of have this list of what you're wanting to magnetize towards yourself, to create this experience in your life, or this person, or whatever it is, the job, the person, whatever it is that you're trying to create. Essentially, the forces of the universe start to rearrange themselves and essentially put pressure on different elements are energized to create that very experience that you are hoping to pull towards yourself. Now, this can happen, and this is why karmic partners are so key in a lot of this, is that oftentimes, if the universe is aligning you with somebody else, but that individual isn't quite where you would need them to be right now. So you have this list, you want to, create this perfect individual or this perfect job, whatever it may be. These karmic energies will start to essentially help the universe to mold that individual into that perfect resemblance or semblance of what it is you're trying to create. Because again, we can only affect the energetic level from, and again, this is why it's so important to be in gratitude of each and every encounter, everybody that you meet. And even, if you have friends, family, that it seems like there are really difficult people in their environment, in their life, a lot of times these very difficult energies are teaching them really poignant lessons that are causing them to change, to make really fundamental changes at the core level of their spirit, and also in terms of their behavior and energy output. So these karmic energies are working with all individuals at all times to help create that perfect outpicturing of what is trying to manifest. And I don't want to say karmic energies in terms of like those individuals are bad, but a lot of times it's taught that individuals that come into our life that don't necessarily show up in a really positive way are essentially these karmic factors. Now, that can be the case for sure. We can be clearing our karma, and through clearing our karma, we become, that higher version or that purposeful version that we were meant to be. But it can also be that essentially the field itself is just making adjustments to us so that we can become a higher version of ourselves. And sometimes that's also because somebody else in the field put out an order for quite close to what we are, but we're not quite there yet. And the only way that the quantum field, the universe, divine energy, whatever you want to term it, can create that experience is by, again, choosing the individual and essentially sculpting them into that perfect pairing in terms of somebody else's required manifestation request. And this works for the individual too. It works for yourself. So it's a good thing. I'm just using an example in terms of another person out there making a request, but it also works in the same way when you yourself make a request. So when you are putting an intention out into the field, you're asking for a certain person to come into your life, you're asking for your job to be a certain way and give you a certain experience, you're asking for, your life to unfold in a certain way. You have to understand that every time you have a request, something has to be rearranged in the field. And just like you are having your list of desires, so too is every other life form on the face of the planet also putting in their orders to the universe. So there's such a complex system of energy exchange that you really have to look at absolutely everything within your environment as a huge gift from the eyes of gratitude, from the eyes of, or looking at it, that the universe is always bringing to you in each and every moment exactly what you need is showing up. And sometimes, again, that stuff is going to be extremely difficult. It might be very overwhelming. It might even feel like it's crushing you. You can go through years of very difficult circumstances that you don't really realize, or you can't really connect the dots until you look backwards, that the universe is actually creating you into that next destination or that beautiful out manifestation of the life that you are dreaming to create. I know for myself, I have so many instances of this, especially when I went through extreme sickness for many years of my life and, taking myself essentially out of society. When I was in those very acute periods, I could never have imagined the existential or the sort of long-term benefits of what going through those isolated events meant for me, but it brought me a huge amount of humility. It gave me a lot of perspective and a huge amount of gratitude and love. And it taught me so much, things that I would have never learned had that portion of my life unraveled as most, young people's lives do. I wouldn't have the depth and the understanding of, my own mortality and just everything that I've experienced. Now it really serves me, and now I completely understand the reasons why I had to go through what I had to go through. But certainly when I was in it, it made absolutely no sense to me. So this is the thing, is that you can be going through the worst times, the most extreme circumstances, and it's actually preparing you for the most beautiful, next leg of the race. But you won't see it while you're in it. You won't necessarily understand. And those are some of the deepest lessons that, again, they will almost feel crushing. But I always kind of liken it to that pressure that needs to be created to make a diamond. And you are that diamond. You are essentially sometimes being crushed into that very brilliant shape that you are meant to be, and the way that you are meant to uniquely shine. So don't ever feel angry at the universe if everything is falling apart, or if times seem really tough. I know, even again, myself in my past, I went through a bankruptcy, I lost my house, I lost everything, and I felt very angry for a really long time at my circumstances, at what I had been given. And it took a long time for me to get myself over the hump of playing the victim and really feeling sorry for myself, and just coming to that full circle new energy where I realized that, I have this grace in my life. And it wasn't until I also, lost my health as well, and wasn't able to, even get out of bed for a very long time, that I realized, wow, my life had been so amazing before this period of time. I had been so blessed. And now I see the error of my ways. Now I see that my lack of just understanding of the beauty of where I had been, incarnated, or the circumstances that I had before me were really so incredible, in contrast to, some very heavy traumatic things that I had gone through. And then when you come out the other side, you do tend to have this really deep understanding of just the beauty of life. I mean, and I also believe that's why, a lot of these survivors of war, people that have come out of the Holocaust, people that have come out of so much trauma, they just have this perspective that life is a beautiful thing, and it is the simplest things, the simplest joys that really make a difference, that really are the moments that we have to capitalize on, and we have to see the blessing in. And so when you're out there, when you are trying to manifest everything that you are trying to manifest into your life, just remember that the tough stuff actually gets you far quicker to where you want to be, to your desired life. It creates resilience, it creates humility, it makes you into a beautiful soul if you can look at it in that way, and if you can frame it in that way. And I know when you're in the thick of it, it can feel very overwhelming, and you can almost feel like, fuck this, in terms of, all of that positivity. But it's when you can reach down deep, when you're at your lowest, and you can still find peace, you can still find that will, that internal will and strength to go on, that you really become your own hero. And that's kind of part of the journey. Like, you are meant to see your own light, and through becoming your own hero, you will, by example, lead and lift others up. And it's really worth it. It's really worth all of the kind of ditch digging that you have to do to get yourself to a place where, again, you do feel complete and whole and happy and on purpose. So if I can inspire you at all today, it is just that everything is always working out for you. I know I've said this before, but even the toughest individuals that come into your life that seem to be driving you a bit crazy, their purpose is to mirror something back to you, to help create a better version of yourself. And if you can look always within to what you can adjust, what you can change, what you can make better, then you are on that path to progress. So I'm gonna cut this video short, guys. Have a really great rest of your day.